Do they meet each other in the end? That's the question each of us is left with after watching Ritesh Batra's 2013 film, The Lunchbox. Well, in this video essay, I'm going to argue that it doesn't matter whether they meet, because both Saajan and Ila have completed their respective character arcs by the time the film ends. So to begin with, let's answer the question, what is a character arc? Well, according to Wikipedia, so that you know that I've really done my research, a character arc is a transformation or inner journey of a character over the course of a story. If a story has a character arc, the character begins as one sort of person and gradually transforms into a different sort of person in response to changing developments in the story. So how many kinds of character arcs are there? Well, there are mainly three. Number 1, positive change arc.
इतनी मोटी सांड मेरे गले मर दी
जिसमें कि कैरेक्टर अपने इनर डीमंस को ओवरकम करके एक बेहतर इंसान बन जाता है. नंबर 2, फ्लैट आर्क, जिसमें कि कैरेक्टर जैसा है वैसा ही रहता है, बस उसके आसपास की दुनिया और लोग बदल जाते हैं, यूजुअली फॉर द बेटर. नंबर 3, नेगेटिव चेंज आर्क. एज यू कैन प्रोबेबली टेल, इट्स द ऑपोजिट ऑफ द पॉजिटिव चेंज आर्क, क्योंकि इसमें कैरेक्टर अपनी डिस्ट्रक्टिव टेंडेंसीज को ओवरकम करने की जगह उनमें गिव इन कर देता है. Now, coming back to the Lunchbox. Both Saajan and Ila display positive change arcs in their story. But since I'm no expert on character arcs, I'm going to take the help of a book. In her book Creating Character Arcs, author K.M. Weiland writes about the lie the character believes. Specifically, she writes, "The change arc is all about the lie your character believes. His life may be horrible or his life may seem pretty great, but festering under the surface is the lie. Your character is incomplete on the inside. He is harboring some deeply held misconception about himself, the world, or probably both." So what lies do Saajan and Ila believe in the Lunchbox? Well, Saajan's lie is that his life is already over, and he must spend what's left of it alone and unhappy. His ghost is his wife's death, which has left him without any family or even friends. His life is lacking of any companionship or purpose, which is why when we meet him, he is ready to retire early and move away from the place where he has lived all his life.
श्रोफ साहब बोल रहे थे कि आपने इस ऑफिस में 35 साल दिए सर, 35 साल. इस ऑफिस के लोग आपको बहुत मिस करने वाले हैं सर.
If the lie he believes is that his life is already over, then his truth is that his life is simply incomplete. And being ready to look for companionship and happiness is where his arc should end, as it does in the film. Just taking that decision to go and look for Ila makes his journey complete, because we know that he would not have made that choice any earlier in the story.
I wanted to come up to you and tell you all this in person, but I just watched you wait.
Ila's lie, however, is not the same as Saajan's. The lie she believes is that she needs to rely on someone to survive. She needs someone whom she can care for and who can provide for her in order to lead a complete and fulfilling life. So at the end of the story, when she leaves her husband and doesn't send her letter to Saajan, who she thinks is in Nasik, but instead goes to Bhutan with her daughter, ready to face the world on her own for the first time, we know her arc is complete. While the lies Saajan and Ila believe seem to be polar opposites, which may cause you to think that they can only meet in the middle, what brings them together is the loneliness that comes as a side effect of believing in their respective lies. It's not just these two who share each other's loneliness though. Screenwriters Ritesh Batra and Rutvik Oza also use what are called impact characters to move their protagonists Saajan and Ila along their respective journeys. What are impact characters, you ask? Well, I think that impact characters are directly related to the lie the protagonist believes, in that they either share that belief or outright reject it. Saajan's impact character is Shaikh.
Very pleased to meet you, sir.
The only reason Saajan decides to pay Shaikh any attention at all is because he can empathize with his loneliness.
मेरा नाम असलम शेख है सर. मैं अनाथ हूँ. अपना नाम भी मैंने खुद ही चुना. सब कुछ खुद ही सीखा और ये भी खुद ही सीख लूँगा. बस यही बोलने के लिए आया था. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Listen. Come here.
But unlike Saajan, Shaikh rejects Saajan's lie. Despite having grown up without a loving family, Shaikh believes in his future prospects of getting the kind of love and attention he desires. Again, unlike Saajan, who lets his insecurities get the better of him, Shaikh reaches out to Saajan and asks for his companionship.
अकेला हूँ मैं, तो मैं ये सोचा था कि अगर आप मेरे सरप्लस बन जाते शादी के लिए, मतलब गार्जियन बन जाते तो
मैं
Later on in the film, Saajan ends up making a similar choice. As for Ila, her impact characters come in the form of her mother and Deshpande auntie. What Ila shares with the two characters is that they have no one else to turn to besides Ila.
मेरा बेटा अगर जिंदा होता मुझे किसी से पैसे नहीं लेने पड़ते.
Ila's mother and Deshpande auntie share her belief in the lie, that they need to care for someone else to live their lives, that they can't survive alone.
देशपांडे आंटी को ऐसा लगता है कि अंकल की जान उस पंखे में अटकी हुई है.
More than anything else, I think it's because that's just what young women are raised to believe in our country.
हम लोग इसके साथ घर घर खेलते होते थे.
Since Ila can't find the love and attention she craves for from her husband, she looks to Saajan, and when even Saajan doesn't seem to come through for her, she settles back into the unfulfilling monotony of her marriage, unable to shed the lie that she believes in. Right then, her impact characters reach out to her. Her father passes away, which leaves her mother alone and widowed. But instead of being simply heartbroken, her mother expresses some amount of relief from finally being free of her duties. And at first, Ila can't bring herself to empathize with her.
सालों से इनसे इतनी घिन आती थी.
माँ,
But when her mother describes the monotony and loneliness that comes from living your entire life caring for someone who cannot reciprocate,
भी रोज रोज माँ का नाश्ता, दवा, नहाना, नाश्ता, दवा, नहाना.
Ila relates to her. When Ila reaches home, her second impact character, Deshpande auntie, tells her that she cleaned a moving fan because of how afraid she is of losing her husband, of having to be alone.
बताइए ना, आज मैंने तेरे अंकल का पंखा साफ किया. चलता हुआ पंखा साफ किया मैंने.
Watching the two characters live their entire lives, believing so strongly that they are incomplete on their own, is what gets Ila to finally reject the lie she believes in and complete her character arc, all on her own. So let's circle back. Do they meet at the end? I'm glad that's a question the makers chose not to answer, because if they did, it would simply be for the gratification of the audience. And yet, despite getting a quote-unquote ambiguous ending, you don't feel cheated as an audience member, because the story seems complete in itself. It just chooses not to say everything out loud.